Recycling is a great idea. It's a shame that some people are pursuing plans to mess it up. Our jobs are at risk. The affordability of beverages is at risk. And we're about to pass a law that will make it more profitable for the state to not recycle beverage containers. Oh, that's sure not a green idea. Let me explain. In a bottle bill state, consumers pay a deposit, say a nickel, on soft drink and beer containers. By the way, some want to expand that to include water and virtually every other liquid refreshment beverage. The idea is that if people have to pay a nickel deposit, they will be sure to return those containers so they can get their nickel back. It makes sense, in theory. In actuality, not all those containers are returned. So a lot of those nickels don't get returned to consumers. Legislators knew that would happen, so they figured out right from the start what to do with those leftover nickels. They assigned them as an encouragement to be used by the beverage manufacturers to help out with the recycling, to offset the extra costs borne by the manufacturers of recycling those beverage containers. The process of picking them up from the retailers, carrying them back to the recycle centers, and beginning the process of turning them into recycled new beverage containers costs money. Nobody wants those costs to be passed on to the consumers. They're already paying a nickel. Remember? Good idea. Now, however, with governments running short of money, somebody came up with the idea of taking those leftover nickels, they're called escheats, by the way, and instead of using them to help pay for recycling expenses, they want to toss them into the state's general tax fund instead. They want to use those recycling nickels for non-recycling purposes. Well, I say, if those nickels aren't used to support recycling, but are put into the state's general tax fund instead, well, that's just another tax on us, isn't it? And all of this means that if recycling is going to continue, something we all want, the costs are going up because those nickels will be gone to pay for heaven knows what else. This is a bad time in the economic predicament we're in to raise costs of recycling. Higher costs will lead to higher beverage prices, which will lead to fewer beverages consumed. And that will lead to a loss of jobs for those of us who make our living manufacturing and distributing and selling beverages. Plus, now the state will have an incentive. Remember, they want those nickels for people to actually recycle less. That's just wrong. Success in raising taxes by taking the escheats will mean a failure in recycling. If this passes, our jobs aren't worth a plugged nickel. Tell everybody you know what's going on so they can decide for themselves whether or not they think this is a good idea. And I'll bet you a nickel that once voters see what this is all about, they won't like it one bit.